Jema. So we enter, I think it's the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavat Puran. And a very fascinating story because we have heard about Brahmaji and Vishnuji till now. What about Shiva? So today we are going to read a story, or rather speak about a story of Shiva. This story is very interesting. It has many, many layers, symbols. I have noted it even in my book on parables and legends. And Sri Aurobindo has a whole, in Bande Matram, he has written a lot about this parable of Mahadev and Sati. So this is how the story goes. It's a parable of Mahadev and Sati. Whether we use the word parable or story or, but obviously it is a profound truth that is taking place on the subtle planes. So this story is narrated with a little difference in Shiv Puran and Vishnu Puran, but the version that Sri Aurobindo has given, the version with which most of us are familiar, that little change is toward the end. We'll talk about that version. We'll add that version because it makes the story even more rich and complex. Now, just to complete that Sri Aurobindo wrote this story in the context of the Indian National Congress. And if you see 100 years plus down the lines, you will see every word of it falls true. So anyways, the story goes, suddenly in Srimad Bhagavat Puran comes the story of Mahadev. And what is happening is, Maitreyi is narrating all this to Vidur. Because Shri Krishna has asked them to, that when I depart, he is departed. So he has told to Uddhav. Uddhav has spoken to Vidur. So they have consoled each other. And then Uddhav says, now I am consoled because I saw his departure and, after his touch I am fine. But you meet Maitreyi Rishi, he is the one who will tell you about the profound mysteries which I am not capable of saying to you. Because Vidur has many questions. So the whole thing is about the dialogue between Maitreyi Rishi, not the Maitreyi, the Rishika of Brihadaranyaka, but Maitreyi Rishi and Vidur. And there are several other, as I said, sub-stories which will come, communications will come. One of the most profound and deep chapters in Srimad Bhagavatam. So here comes the parable of Mahadev and Sati. So as we know, Daksha is Prajapati. So what is a Prajapati? Mother has used the word formature. So as creation descends, so at every level, it's like, you conquer a land and you put some tehsildar, you take care of the place. So at every plane, before creation has come right up to matter, there are form makers. So there are beings who have been given special powers to mold things, to conduct the cosmic affair. They have very wide consciousness, these beings. Some of them are gods, then there are form makers, and they are real beings. One can come in contact with them. But that apart. So Daksha Prajapati, so as you know, the name itself is one of the persons who conducts the affairs of earthly life, other worlds. And how does he do it? He does it by Yagya. So what is a Yagya? Yagya literally implies that whatever comes is put into a common place. And from that, it is the head, the recipient, the person who is conducting the Yagya or the Lord of the Yagya, he has to now give it to different people based on their needs. That's how cosmos works. Whole cosmos is a big Yagya. And you can experience it. Actually, it is something which one can experience in vision, in subtle experiences. And even otherwise we can see that we don't get things based on what we want. We get things on what the divine wills. Even if we have done our best to give something, still we may not get that same thing. We may get something very different. We may not value it, but we get something. Everybody gets his share of the Yagya. This is the Vedic idea. And many stories like that, including the story of Dhruv. We'll come to that when we come to that. So Yagya, the concept of Yagya is everybody is putting their energies for whatever apparent purpose, generally moved by desire, into this Yagya, which is cosmic Yagya, fire which is going on. But we don't get according to what we have asked for, we get according to what is truly to be given to us. Now, that is a different dimension of the story, we'll not right now get into it. So Daksha is a Prajapati, so he has to conduct the Yagya, meaning every thought, aspiration, feeling which is strong enough to reach that seat is being offered, and then things are going back. But as the mother says, some of these formatures, many of the form makers, they, how does, not bribery, but things start from there. So they have their own favoritism. So Daksha Prajapati, because he is concerned mainly with the maintenance of creation, he is a Prajapati. Everything should be in its place according to the set system. You can't have anarchy there. See, we can connect it to everything. So what he does is, he is the only person he is scared of. Now I am giving a little bit of my version of the story. Is Mahadev. He doesn't want to call Mahadev. Because Mahadev follows no rules. In the Yagya of Daksha, every god is coming, shining. They are coming on their nice vahanas, sitting there nicely. But Mahadev follows no rules. He will come with Bhoot, Pishach, all kinds of fellows. He will come and sit. He is wearing we have these two extreme idea of same divine reality. Hari, Har. When Vishnu Bhagavan goes, is all, Vaibhav and Rajasic, because the Lakshmi is there. But when Shiva goes, he goes bearing a mrigchala, sitting on a bull. It's like, who cares? That kind. But he is the strongest of the lot. So he is force actually. So Shiva also comes, but he is uninvited. Daksh has not invited him, everybody else. But you have to give your share to Shiva, because he is a cosmic god. What it means is, there has to be, the destroyer has his own place in creation. Without that, no new creation can come. So when Daksha sees Shiva has come, he is obviously very uncomfortable. Now as Daksha enters all shining and radiant, he is after all a great being, all the gods are present. So all the gods stand up, except Shiva. Now why Shiva doesn't stand, this comes in the story little later. So when Shiva doesn't stand, he starts saying, see, he is uncouth. He is not a person to be invited. I have made a big mistake of wedding my own daughter to him. Sati is one of his daughters, and she is wedded to Shiva. She loved Shiva. And he tried to dissuade her mind, but she says, no, if I marry, I'll marry Shiva. So she is married to Shiva, Sati, one of his daughters. He says, all my counselors, these rishis, these gods, they all have misguided me. I married her to this man who is roaming around like a pauper. All kinds of things. Shiva is quietly listening. He doesn't stand up. He doesn't explain. Shiva is Shiva. He knows himself. So things go to a great extreme. All this, doing apman, insult. And then Bhrigu, one of the rishis, who was testing everyone. We have spoken about Bhrigu Rishi. He is one of the main priest. He gets up and he says certain things which are very nasty. Then Shiva gets up and quietly he walks away. So that story ends there. He conducts the Yagya, Shiva goes away. Nothing happens in that particular Yagya. Then after some time, he is performing another Yagya. Because whenever there has to be a cosmic turnover, there has to be a Yagya. That's how all the energies have come. And then it's like a dice and the gods decide what should be done. So you see, this is a very interesting process. When you see Trojan War, same thing it will come. I'll come to that understanding of Trojan War based on this. So next time when there is a Yagya, he doesn't call Shiva. And so naturally Sati is also doesn't come, but Sati sees all of them are going in their nice aircrafts. You see, all the Vimanas are described. They are all going in their aircrafts, and Sati sees, and she's daughter, she's attached, she wants to go. So she is restless. She asks Mahadev, come, chalo ji, chalte hain. Come along, it's nice and nothing wrong. He is like your dad also, after all. What does it matter? Last time he did this, it's okay. But Shiva's counsel said, don't do that, because if you are insulted at some place, you should not go. It's not good to go to a place. And Shiva explains, it's a very profound truth, very profound in practical life. Says, if you go to a place where you are insulted, then it does not only harm to you, it does harm to the person who has invited, because he is incurring something which is very dark. He's insulting you and you are going there. So you are actually making him insult you more and more. So at the end of the day, his bad deeds or whatever are becoming worse and worse. So Shiva quietly tells her, don't do this. But at the end, she cannot handle this. She sees everyone is going, oh, there is a big festival in my father's place. So she says, okay, I will go. And she just walks off actually. When she walks off, Shiva tells all his Gana, Bhoot, Pishach, everybody, all the Gana, and all these, his own army of Rudras, just be with her. Don't let her go alone, because she has just walked away from the house. So she is not carrying anything. Carry her bedding, carry her luggage items. Make sure that she goes nicely. So the nicely is the bull. So Nandi says to Sati, please come with me. So Sati sits on the bull, Nandishwar, and goes. Now when she goes there, Daksh gets an opportunity to insult Shiva again. So he starts all kinds of insult, and that Sati cannot bear. I'm just telling the raw story. Then we'll come to its interpretation. So she cannot bear beyond a point. She says, I made a mistake. Shiva was right. Mahadev was right. I shouldn't have come. But after hearing these things about Mahadev, she first explains who is Mahadev. That you don't know. You are going by outer appearances. You think just because somebody is wearing a suit, coat, pant, tie and speaking good English, he is a great person? You are mistaken, Mr. Daksh, Mr. Dad. Shiva wears nothing. He is an ascetic, but he is greater than the greatest. She knows him and she knows how the gods have behaved with him. He says, you have no clue. You are misjudging him because you are judging by your standards. You want to put everything in a certain way, and he doesn't follow any format. He is beyond formats. So finally she says, I cannot bear this and go back to him. So I'll give up my body in this very Yagyashala. So she invokes the fire. It's a very beautiful description, not the way it is shown sometimes. So that fire, the entire Yagyagni starts. This is a description of how to leave the body. And that comes several places in Bhagavat Purana. So she starts withdrawing from the physical, goes into the apan into Vyan, all the prana she destroys, she withdraws, takes it to the mind, then from the mind to the buddhi, and then she is completely absorbed in Shiva's feet. Nothing else is there except Shiva's feet. Then that fire completely burns her. Burns her, not completely, but she leaves the body and drops there. Now all these Gan people, they were following. When they see this, they are angry. So they start creating rakas. So when they start creating rakas, then Daksha's Bhrigu is there. Bhrigu and others, they use mantras and chase them away. They are all gods are present in that assembly. They know it shouldn't have happened. But then, they chase away all the Gan. So all these Gan and Bhoot and all these people who are under Shiva, all the destructive forces, they are under Shiva. All the Rudras, because she is the great destroyer. So all the forces that destroy are under him. So they all run away and they tell the message. This is what has happened. Now Shiva rises up. Now he is terror, Rudra. Or rather, he is Rudra before whom terror is terrified. So as he rises up, he plucks a mat of hair lock of hair, throws it on the ground, and out of it emerges Virabhadra. Virabhadra is a extremely destructive Rudra. Rudra powers are destroyed. They are supposed to destroy all that is evil and bad. And now Virabhadra alone is sufficient. It described that as he stretches Virabhadra, even the gods are terrified from the hair of Shiva. Does it remind us of something? Long back when at one place Sri Aurobindo's relics had gone, I said, don't forget, these are hair of Sri Aurobindo. Don't take it lightly. If Shiva's matted lock can do what it did, this is something far more, it's supramental. So anyways, he goes Virabhadra alone. Nobody is unstoppable. All these stories that you hear or see is a, one-man army. And one-man army, the gods, even Bhrigu tries to check him. He ties Bhrigu. He is like merciless killing. So whoever comes in the way, he just finishes. Nobody can. Even Narayan, Vishnu Bhagavan tries to wait. He ties him. Nobody. And then he goes, destroys the Yagya, and takes body of Sati. So then Daksha comes in front of him. He beheads Daksha, and his head is thrown into the fire. And then he walks back with body of Sati to Shiva. And then there is, of course, which is not here right now in this story, but in Shiv Puran, Shiva later on goes along the four quarters with the body of Sati, mourning. See, he is mourning like an ordinary person. This is what she had thought looking at Rama. No. His mourning is for a world which does not want the supreme freedom. He is mourning for a world which has rejected the divine Shakti. He is mourning for that. And as he goes in all the quarters, now it's going to disturb the whole creation. So Vishnu Bhagavan comes and he starts cutting Sati into parts and parts till ultimately her body disappears. And then Mahadev goes into his tapasya. This part is not described in Vishnu Puran, but is there in the Shiv Puran. So what happens to those body parts? There are, as we know, 52 body parts which become the Sati Shakti Peeth. That's right. I have one amazing experience. I have at least one, where in Gaya, so they took me, and normally I don't feel, after mother you don't feel anything. So even Nainital, I have really not been to Naini Devi Mandir. But if somebody takes, then okay, you go. So I went inside. So they said this is where Sati is. So I just put my hand. I actually experienced beating. I took off the hand, tried it 3 times, 4 times, very consciously, that am I being fooled? And I could sense as if that place, is pulsating. So earlier I knew that there are different parts of Sati in different places. Some places that Naina Devi in Nainital, so it is the eyes, and so that's where Sati's heart has fallen. It's a real experience, a spooky experience. I came back. I said, what is this I was feeling? Very, very real experience. So anyways, so then Sati goes, Shiva goes into his, and meanwhile, gods are in an array. What has happened now? Now Daksha Prajapati has gone. He needs to be revived. This is a process in creation. You can't suddenly. So everybody goes to Kailash and starts praying to Shiva. All the gods go. And Shiva is quiet. He is silent. He is peaceful. He says, I am not even thinking about Daksha. Actually, I don't care. But he was harboring thoughts which are not worthy of somebody who is engaged in a task as great as creating a world. He is doing Yagya. And he explains, and the great gods know, but for our sake, that why Shiva destroys. He says, you have been given a task, you have to conduct it impartially, with equality. You are not doing it. He is trying to fool. So this he called upon himself. Because it's part of Shiva's task. He doesn't do anything actually in that whole thing. But his one Rudra, Virabhadra does it all. That this Yagya is by default not the right Yagya, because there is favoritism, there is partiality. That to certain people he will give, to certain people he will not give. You cannot conduct Yagya like that. Everybody must have their place, their quota, original quota. Whatever, the right portion should go to the right people. So this is not acceptable, and therefore he had to be destroyed. So this is something destiny he called upon himself. But then I understand, now whatever happens, he can't be lying like a dead fellow, but his head is gone. So bring some head and I am going to fix it. So all of them go all around, they get a goat's head. And there is a lot of melee is taking place. Now this part of fixing the head is not there in Bhagavat Purana, but there in Shiv Purana. But it makes the story more complete. There will be some differences in the story. There are different authors, apparently, or there are different levels of authenticity. So, when all the surgeons are in a hurry, come, do it fast. So, the goat's head is fixed in a opposite manner. So, like the front part has the goat's hind head, and the back side has the eyes. And now it's a peculiar situation. When Daksha is moving forward, he believes he is moving forward. Actually, he is moving backward. And when he is moving backward, he is actually moving forward. How to navigate? So Daksha says, this is beyond me. Yagya can start. He starts the Yagya. And then he becomes a Bhakta of Shiva. He says, I can't handle this. He understands that he did something which he shouldn't have done. He prays to Shiva. Shiva comes, blesses him. And later on he regains his normal body, full body. And becomes a Shiva Bhakta. This is the story basically. And Sati is reborn as Parvati, as the daughter of Himalaya. This is where the story closes. But the story is very, very rich with symbols and deep, profound meanings. So again, I am not saying whether the story is real or not. Some people get into myth and reality. It's all reality of different planes. Whether Shiva is like this, looking like this or not, that's a different thing altogether. But Shiva is, of course, there is a power that destroys, there is a power that creates, there is a power that conducts. And it takes the forms which are representative of that reality. And we conceive the form in a certain way and we observe. Like if you read Rudra in Greek literature, he is Prometheus, not in the story of Prometheus, he Poseidon. Poseidon is Rudra. So you will see him in a different way. Form will be different. Athene is like our goddess Durga. So that difference of that form and aspect will be there. But Shiva as a reality is there, exists. So Shiva is the great destroying power. So what does he destroy? He destroys all that is imperfect, all that is one-sided. Because the divine wants the whole world to progress. That's why Sri Aurobindo says Troy had to be destroyed. Why? Because Troy was an extremely developed, civilization. All other Greek fellows were tribes. Some of them are nice, but they were largely tribes. Communities, tribes. Some of them were nice guys like Odysseus, very fine gentleman. But the King Priam, if you read, they were conducting yagyas and they were very noble, very let's come to that. We had once Brahmins and Kshatriyas. So there was a lopsided development. Divine wants the entirety to develop. So when you don't give bhag to Shiva in the yagya, that means one kind of civilizational thing. It's not about being Brahmin in India, by the way. So in the West, we see what is happening today in Europe and UK. So what was their state? They were acting much worse than any Brahmin would ever do, because Brahmins at least had the knowledge, the arrogance that if you went to UK and you went to a theater, it's true by the way, dogs and Indians are not allowed. Now they are running, coming to India, please help our economy. But that's how it comes. This is the same parable. So Daksha has grown arrogant. And this arrogance, and that too in a ruler who is governing the whole kingdom. Arrogance in a ruler is not befitting at all. You have to keep now. There are other arrogant rulers, and don't worry. This story is enough if they listen. So the divine smashes and brings it to the floor. It's the same story in Troy's annexation. They became arrogant and they had to be pulled down. And Kali goes there in the form of Helen of Troy. She is Kali, none else. She goes there, she doesn't follow any rules. People often say that, but she was married, why did she go with Paris? Don't ask Kali and Shiva to follow rules. Shiva has no rules. Or we may say he has his own rules. Even when Krishna on the battlefield of Gita, it is Shiva aspect as Kali he says, I mean, right now things have to be destroyed. Rules are when you are preserving. For the preserver there are rules. For the destroyer there are no rules. Because he has to just bring down all that has not followed the path of the right course. So he destroys. So this is the basic story where Mahadev destroys. And what about Sati? So he is wedded, as we all know, Mahadev has 2 consorts. Actually 3. But the third is not regarded as a consort normally, and that is Ganga. So Ganga is in a way wedded to him. It's not official wedding, but she is always with him. She is the power of purity. So ascetic purity, Shiva carries that. And isn't it very strange that Shiva is regarded as the lord of ascetics? And Shiva has married, Shiva has 2 children. See, that idea of asceticism is so different. And his first wife is Sati. Sati is avidyamai maya, the power of ignorance. Even though it is wedded to the same Lord, it's same, but yet it's the power of ignorance. Same thing we see in Ramayana. When Mata Sita gives herself to Agni and comes as a chaya, then the power of ignorance. That's how she is unable to understand that, well, Lakshman can have no ill intention ever about me. She blames him that, you're not going to defend your brother. He says, nothing can happen to my brother, I know it. She says, no, you have evil intention. This is not Sita, but Avidya. So she becomes Avidyamai Maya. Later on again, she comes back through the fire as Vidyamai Maya. So Sati is Avidyamai, and when the creation is taking place in a state by the force of ignorance, at some point it will boomerang and will be destroyed. So it gives us the secret why even big things are pulled down. So it's pulled down because it's still Sati is born to Daksha. She is wedded to the Lord. But then Daksha himself is operating, his operating system is by rules, fixed rules and regulations. But Shiva is freedom himself, Mahadev. That's why he is Mahadev. He follows no rules. See, when people say in ashram, what are the rules? In the beginning, there were no rules. The only rule that comes in 30s, 38, there is a letter of Sri Aurobindo, which people made into a rule because they said some rule has to be there. So the rule was always behave as if the mother is looking at you, because indeed she is always present. So someone went to, later on, mother gave these 4 rules in 50s. No smoking, no drinking, no alcohol, no drugs and no sexual intercourse. So in 60s, someone went to Ramana Ashram. This is directly, I'm telling you a story from the person. And he said, how come in your place and everywhere else there are rules, girls queue, boys queue, all this. So in Sri Aurobindo Ashram, there are no such rules. Boys and girls go together, they eat together. So this yogi in the ashram understood this secret very well. He says, you know what? Sri Aurobindo is Prabhu. So if you put ghee and fire, he can handle it. And it is so true. He says he can handle it. He said he is Prabhu himself. But anywhere else, if you do it, it will create scandals after scandals. So that's why no rules. When no rule is there, it means you are making a choice. So Shiva is no rule, but he sees the choice in the heart and acts according to that. He will act. No rule doesn't mean freedom is I'll do anything and everything is fine. It's not fine. But you have to make your own conscious choice. That's why Shiva stands for the ultimate anarchy. But in that anarchy, there is a rider. Rider is, if you don't wake up to the inner truth and act according to that, the inner Yagya, that's how in Satyug, Lord Vishnu comes as Yagya Purush. He doesn't come as any external figure. Then Treta he comes as Rama. In Dwapar he comes as Krishna. And then in Kalyug he is the codifier. There is rules and regulations. But in Satyug, he is primarily Yagya Purush. Of course, later on Parshuram is there. That's a different story altogether. But he is the Yagya Purush. So you have to feel inside what is true and act according to that truth. If you don't, you are the person who will lose. You are the person who will ultimately be destroyed. So that is the story of Daksha. Daksha, the middle things in the creation. The same thing applies on earthly life ultimately. There is always something which is free, anarchic. Shiva, if you read Shiva's life and way of life, he is complete anarchy. Also, there are elements in creation which are very dark, which are fallen, which may be disgusting. But you have to take care of them. You cannot just ignore them. You cannot just say, oh, they should be out of creation. You see, it is very interesting when right now we are going through this debate, no, because of the reservation thing. Now, of course, this reservation is a different thing. Now it's pleasing and placating. But originally, when it was said that we have to take care of those who are depressed, read Sri Aurobindo's Independence Day message, where Sri Aurobindo passingly mentions that what is good, one of the good things among the several good things, that the problem of the depressed classes have been taken care of. You can't just leave them that we don't care, we are superior, we are... You see, this is exactly what we also did at some point of time. The Brahmins did it. And it may sound very strange, but the fact is, well, the Chaturvarna is there, but in a deeper sense, we have spoken about it. In Tamil Nadu, where you are seeing the maximum reaction, there was a time when a high-class Brahmin, when he walked, the lower peoples, so-called lower people, they couldn't come near. These are also facts. So when arrogance reaches that point, you may be a Daksha. Daksha is a very powerful person. He is revered by the gods. Even the gods listen to him. At some point you will be destroyed. Then there will be, of course, cosmos will go back. So ultimately Shiva, so there will be a new creation. So Parvati will come back. So you will have a new order. It's not like then life has to be continued like, okay, now we continue. You have swung in the other direction. So then Sati comes, she does the tapasya. So Sati doesn't do, Parvati. Sati wed Shiva just by the force of her longing. She doesn't do tapasya. But Parvati does tapasya to wed Shiva. Meaning thereby now nature has to prepare itself. So often people say that why doesn't God come? I want God. Why doesn't He come? Because God has the experience of what happened. When Sati had the longing, I want Shiva. And little bit Shiva touched her, but not really much. By the force of her longing, she wed Shiva. And Shiva is wedded to her. He accepts. In fact, that's when the dancing, the Natraj and all these festivals we have where, that bhang and all these things come. But now the rules of the game changed after this. We can say that there is a transition taking place. The rule of the game earlier was by the heart's deep longing you can call God. And even now we say, why doesn't he? My heart is longing. That's it. My heart is beating. Keeps on repeating. Come. He doesn't come so easily. Though there is another story also, which, you see, these stories have a deep sense. They are also like a string of pearls. Next story is of Dhruva. But it doesn't come. Why? Because now you have to do some tapasya. Sri Aurobindo also says that mother will do everything. But you have to do some self-enabling sadhana. And at one place, there is a conversation where he is telling the mother, and it's recorded. Mother is saying, he told me, don't tell them that they can get everything very easily. They can, but don't tell them. Just imagine, mother is revealing the secret. Because then what happens when we are not ready to receive something which is so high? So, a position, power, especially in the hands of Prajapati, it's a very responsible thing. The higher you rise the scale, the more responsible you have to be, the more equanimity you have to display, the more inner rectitude, humility. With power comes humility. If you don't have humility, you are going to face the fate of Daksha. Daksha is humble. That entire creation which he was trying to create slips out of hand. Where does it go? To a goat's head. And mother has warned this about even this creation. She has foreseen the future. And she says, you know what? What is the last judgment spoken of in Christianity? They don't understand it, but this is the meaning. So last judgment means we are all playing our games. We don't know how we are playing. We go through challenges, we go through good, bad, but there is an all-witnessing eye which is keeping everything into account. This is a prayer of the mother, 5th February, if I am not mistaken. Nothing is missed out. Even a fleeting thought, feeling, will, because it's a cosmic yagya. Nothing is missed out. The other person may not note, for whom you may be crying, but the Lord has noted it. Your sacrifices nobody may recognize, but the Lord has noted it. So all this is going on, and that's what the day of reckoning is. A time comes when all this expresses, suddenly you get a windfall that, see, your parents have left for you a big fortune. You never knew that. But equally, there is the other side. So last judgment, he says, right now, the supramental force is active, giving everybody chance to take the leap. Everybody. It's making no distinction between caste, creed, rich, wealthy, poor, learned, unlearned, nothing. Because this is that moment when it's a Vishwa Yagya taking place, and then you can't make this differentiation. No, only elite people will come to the ashram. See, this is the beauty of the ashram. And people ask Sri Aurobindo, why have you called all kinds of people in the ashram? See how foresight. He doesn't want ashram to go the way that Daksha Yagya went. He says, if I do that, then the problem of the tamasic man will remain unsolved. And therefore, there will always be the risk of the whole thing turning into the old fiasco. You see, there are people, when you look at their food, the plate and all this, you'll wonder, my God, even language. But this is where we have Shiva aspect of Sri Aurobindo. He calls everybody, even because everybody should be given their chance. What you do with it is a different story. That's when the last judgment, the day comes when you have gone through the cycle of karma and all that is going on through life. Then a day comes when you are either snapped into the higher, upper, creation, the supramental world, or you collapse back. So in that context, Mother says that very few are ready to face the suffering and the challenge for the new creation. But it's okay. Some are there. There are many who are ready to become intellectual disciples of Sri Aurobindo. They're not yet ready for the yoga, but they can be integrated into a higher humanity from where they can make a transition. But there are others, she says, who are just like simple animals. You will see all around. Nice photo shoots, cute photo shoot, nothing wrong. Just feel like this, like that, all over. They stand in front of ashram, but the only thing they can think about, how am I looking? It's like kids, children. So she said there is a whole layer of humanity which is like animals. Maybe cute animals, not harmful, not dangerous. There are people who come to Pondicherry and they say, which is the eating places. So, my own relations, they have come and asked me. I said, just the wrong person, the wrong question. I know Surguru for sure, and Delhi 6, and what is that place? Executive Inn. These three I know. Then others, couple of, but consult the Google map, you will find many places. So that's one thing. But people come even to Pondicherry. They're not bad people. They're nice people. They're like little animals. Within the limits they live. This is fine. So what will happen to that humanity? She says it will fall back and be integrated into the animal world. So it has to evolve back because it has become human prematurely. Its life is like an animal. Eat, mate, sleep, have a little joy, thodi khushi, and have a little sorrow, thoda gum, bit of attachment, bit of everything, bit of God also. Of course, animal can become a vehicle of the divine and change its destiny. That's a different story, not connected here. All the animals, gods have them as their vahana. So you may be even serpent, Vasuki prayed to Shiva. Please take me in your service. Shiva says, what service can you do? He says, just keep me near you. He says, okay, I'll keep you in my neck. So what does he do, Vasuki? If you go to Shiva, you have to first encounter Vasuki. Meaning thereby, if you are afraid, you can't go near him. See, he is doing a job, very good job. He will never harm you. But you have this fear. This is described in the Upanishad. Abhayam, bhayam, darshanam. That which gives abhay, gives bhay in the heart of creature. That's why people are afraid. Oh, I have to lose my ego. Hare yaar, you will be vast. No. I have to lose my little identities with which I am attached. Yes. The divine, it's always, bhay. So Vasuki is sitting there. Before Shiva opens his eyes, you have Vasuki. Before you enter the ashram, you have Vasukis. They'll ask you, funny question. Show me the pass. You suddenly feel lost. Pass? What pass? Some exam is going on. No, you wait. You may be a big man, but he's putting you into your place. You are entering there. Prem gali ati sakari tame dona samahi. Jab main tha tab hari nahi. Jab hari tab main nahi. If you have that state, what does it matter? I have to go there. I am nobody. Okay, fine. But if you say, I am somebody, I have to keep my phone, this, that. Sir, stay out. So you have Vasuki. He sorts out all this crowd. So you see all of them. And Vasuki is there. In the same Shiva's abode, you have Mayur. Arch enemies. Isn't it? Peacock and serpents will never be together. Peacock eats, you see, peacock going on the ground, sees serpent, it's a nice meal. Thank you, Lord. Shiva keeps them together. And the great serpent and the mice. Ganeshji is also there. They are also food. But they are together. Because life is centered around Shiva. So that's how Shiva operates. He doesn't have any rules. He has not made any rules for any of them. And of course you have the great bull, Nandi, force. Shiva represents that force element. So this is the whole parable, and you can't just, we think that I can do anything and get away because I am very special. Today we are living in an age When even if I am a Shankaracharya, it doesn't matter. Shiva himself will come. See, this is what happened exactly. Daksha says, I am a big man. Even the gods come when I call them. Shiva says, I am not coming, I am sending Virabhadra. That's it. Isn't it the same story? It happens from time to time, and especially when evolutionary process it at its intense. And then the mother says there are perverse elements in creation. And these perverse elements are not about we think perverse. We don't know. We should not judge anyone. It may be people who are looking very nice, neat, people whom people are worshipping, the high and the mighty, spiritual gurus, Epstein files. One of them is a Guruji. Guruji means book guru. And when the time comes and the Shiva's Gan act, Virabhadra acts, you may be anybody. And see, this process started. When did it start? We didn't reckon it. See how these things. It started with an American president who was impeached for an act which normally you would say this is cool, this what is the life in America. American president is the most powerful man without a doubt materially. Because he has resources, he has money, he can do a lot more. But one American president, the day, I'm not taking the name, I'm sure everybody knows, he was impeached for misconduct. See, from that time onwards, because now this is going to become more and more intense. So the story of Sati and Mahadev is the story when the old creation, which is established on certain lines, certain rules, regulations, and then these rules become subject to mismanagement. See, this is what happened with the Brahmin and Kshatriyas, I mean, without a doubt. So when you mismanage power in the hands of people, initially like it started with Rajas, their sons, and they were very nice. If you look at Bahubali, slowly mismanagement starts. And then once Shiva opens his eyes, then you cannot, then even the gods can't save you because that's the destroyer's command. So Rudra forces, volcanoes, earthquakes. The mother was asked this. Says that is the same thing, the same forces in nature which are in an extremely destructive mode. Look at what happened. People had gone to, what is the Tirth of Shiva? Badrinath, Kedarnath. Isn't it interesting? All of them say, sir, we are only pilgrims. Shiva knows the heart. You can't fool him. I know real stories of people who survived in a very strange way. One of them, of course, I know was devotee of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. And how, as if the floods are chasing and he kept on moving and he survived. And when that devastation starts, when Virabhadra starts killing, you have to see it. You have to read it. Bhrigu is a great rishi. He is conducting the sacrifice. He just finishes him. He says, I don't care. That time, only sincerity. That's what Sri Aurobindo reminds us in Hour of God. And Mother says, I have asked Kali to hold back. I am asking her to hold back. I am asking her to hold back. Because if she acts, that's what happened in ashram in 65. That couple of ashram departments were also burnt. And when Mother was asked, she said, yes, Kali was active. And then she doesn't care. You are a devotee. Okay. You are spared. No. When she acts, then she acts. She says, I had to wait for 8 hours to quieten her and go away. Then she gave orders to her, all the youngsters here that now you people go and resist. For 8 hours, the mother didn't allow all these people, youngsters, all full of Josh. We'll go and tackle who are these rogues. Of course, they were rogues and ruffians who were throwing stones and setting fire because of all that miscommunication that ashram is, anti-South and Hindi speaking. All was purely, propaganda. And yet, Mother said, no, wait. So people were ready in the playground. She didn't allow. It's only after 8 hours, and they are very interesting stories, that who could go, one had to be fearless. And there is a story about that, but that apart. Because if you have to be in that power of Shiva's destructive force, you have to be completely fearless. And then the story of Togada, who was Bhag Jatin's grandchild. I have met him, and now he is no more. Very nice man. He said, I don't know. If you look at him, you can't believe he did this. Lanky fellow. And I asked him how he did it. I don't know. I just felt the inspiration. Alone he stood, all these goons with stones and whatnot. He stood with a lathi and threw them all back. Ultimately, he got badly injured. He had head injury. He was unconscious. And mother said Durga was acting through him. So there are tremendous cosmic forces. And when they decide, they decide. After that, you may say, oh, he is a powerful person. What happened to the powerful Great Britain, which said that sun doesn't set in its empire? Dogs and Indians are not allowed. What happened? What is happening in Europe? What might happen in America? Might, because it may not, because it's still an adolescent. So, this story is not just a story or just a parable. They are real cosmic forces which are keeping a watch. And when creation begins to go awry, when ignorance, because Daksha Prajapati is acting like that, when the balance is disturbed, then they act. Once they act, it's devastating. Then the whole thing has to be rebuilt. Just to quote one of the letters of Sri Aurobindo, he says, it took us 4 years or 10 years, I may be mistaken, suddenly, to destroy the entire past of the earth. So people asked him why there are many good things. He says, yes, there are good things, but they will fall back into the same old pattern. You see what has happened today in the new creation? Many people who say, oh, that was such a nice time, children got up and touched our feet. The children don't care. Parents are unhappy. That is the action of Shiva. He acts, the past is gone. He says, this is much better. He was asked this question. He says, he uses the word Kali Vrajanam. Even the good is gone. You try to revive it, you are doing exactly what Daksha did. The goat's head, remember. You try to revive it, you will put the head of the goat in the reverse. So when you think that you are making progress, you are actually going backward. So many people are still trying, oh no, all religions are same, try to bring together. Don't try that. Mother has said age of religions is over. It's the spiritual age. Means you have to go beyond forms and formats into the greater truth. You can use religion as a path to go further. As long as you know that, it's fine. But if you use religion as an end point, that's it, and my religion, I was saying jokingly today morning with the Brazil group, I had a friend, still he is there, very old person, now he must be nearing 100. He would say, Sabka Malik ek. There is only one God. I said, yeah, but you know what? The moment you say, and that God is my God, be very careful. Line is very thin. All religions say there is only one God. But except for Sanatan Dharma, all of them will say, and you know what that God is? My God. That's where that little exclusivity brings falsehood. Mother has spoken of that. It is this exclusivity which destroys things. Or trying to join them together somehow. Only way you can join is go beyond. That's what India has always said. Spiritual life is to be lived, and yoga to become one with the divine. That's what is required. So this is the story of parable of Mahadev and Sati. Don't try to revive the past which Mahadev has destroyed. If you try to do that, you will create a mess. You will not know whether you are moving forward or backward. Prepare through tapasya for the new. Sati is the old creation. Beautiful though she is, wedded to Shiva. But she is born from that format of Daksha Prajapati, everything in fixed format. Parvati is the new creation. So now she has to engage in tapasya, re-wed Mahadev. And to re-wed Mahadev, now there is only one test at the end that she faces. It's there in the story, we'll just touch upon it. We'll not talk about the whole story because it's not part of the Bhagavat Purana. What is the test that Parvati faces? People often say Mahadev, third eye opened and Kamadev was destroyed. Parvati is also there. She bears it. The third eye opens, Kamadev is destroyed, and she's not disheartened. Because she knows that Kama must be destroyed for love to reach its peak. So when Kama is destroyed, then Parvati, because after that he closes his eyes again, but now, she is. So Parvati does that last leap of tapasya. She doesn't give up. All Kama changes into true love, prema, in the real sense. So all these stories are so clear, beautiful. They are symbols, they are truths of other planes, let me put it like that. And they are contextual always, because this goes on, and today's time, this particular legend is very, very, this particular story is very, very relevant, because you can see the action of Daksha and Virabhadra doing havoc in their own way. And there have to be some who have to carry the seeds of new creation, engaged in tapasya like Parvati. Because Sati is gone, that old format is gone. Jai Ma.